And also for those who haven't met me, maybe early on in Ignite, I'll introduce myself. My name's Alana Hubert Katz. I'm the Director of Education and Coaching for an Keller Williams location throughout Maryland, DC, and Virginia. So I'm over 8 locations for everything training and coaching related, as well as a national trainer. And anybody on here work another job and also in real estate? What we call dual career. Okay, I see some hands. Okay. I started back in 2015 the same way. I was working another job. My daughter was in middle school. My friend talked me into getting into real estate. I had no idea what I was doing. And I got into this crazy career called real estate and was like, okay, now what? And it was a roller coaster and still is, but in a good way. So still am an agent. And if anybody has real estate needs in Maryland, DC, or Virginia, please reach out. We have some amazing agents that I work with. By the way, that is how you ask for a referral. You simply just ask. Don't be afraid to ask. Okay. So tonight we're going to the finish line. We're getting to the close, right? Last week, you worked all about how to work with buyers and sellers, how to win them, how to get signatures, right? How to negotiate. Now it's all about, and by the way, if you missed those classes, oh my God, we have some of the best instructors on there who do hundreds of deals a year teaching them. Please go to the YouTube playlist and watch those recordings. All the recordings are up now. So we're going to talk about best practices, risk avoidance, referrals, how to get them, reviews. We're going to talk a little bit about social media. That's important. The post-close follow-up. And I'm probably going to share a few things that are not in here at all, just from experiences and best practices and all of that good stuff. Again, as we go through this, please ask questions. Pardon me. Ooh, okay. By the way, let me read this here. I don't typically read quotes, but I kind of like this one. Real estate transactions aren't particularly trouble-free. I'm just going to stop it with that statement. Okay. Not all transactions are trouble-free. I always say to every new agent, or any agent, it doesn't matter, any agent, when you have your first transaction, if your very first one is, I'm going to call it a doozy, okay, because we're recording, and it's just putting you through the ringer, that's great because it's an amazing learning experience. You're going to want to pull your hair out, but it's an amazing learning experience. And usually the next one after that's going to be a little bit easier. Not easy, but a little bit easier. We had an agent who her first buyer transaction, she went through so many things with that one buyer in the transaction that you would have thought she had 4 or 5 transactions. That's how many things. Like that deal was going, then it almost fell through, then it was going, then it fell through, then it popped back up again, then it fell through, then it popped back up again. It was a roller coaster, that one. It got to the finish line. To be honest with you, I have no idea. I was shocked that it did. We all thought it was going to fall through. It actually closed, and that agent learned so much in that experience. And when those things happen, you have to always, one, kind of just hold your head high and be like, okay, this is real estate. Let's push through this. 2, keep a poker face, because your emotions, your clients feed off of your emotions. They're already stressed. Do not feed into that. Be very careful. So whether you play poker or not, practice your poker face, right? Just, it's going to be okay. Like, you need to be kind of that calming force with the individuals. Okay. So throughout any real estate transaction, you have deadlines. All right. So there's an agent in my office and he makes fun of me all the time and I love it. It's not really making fun of, he just kind of jokes around with me because he's known me for years. And he said, I'm a storyteller. So since he said it, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to tell you a little story of an agent. True, by the way, these are true stories and they're all very relevant and recent. So this one agent, well, let me rephrase that. He's no longer an agent. Okay. He started a year ago, no longer in the business. When I say the story, you'll understand why. So he started out hitting the ground running, showing up for trainings, reaching out to people, making connection, lead generating as we do, and he started getting clients. He ended up having his first buyer. I was working with him as his coach for a bit of time, and his buyer wanted to put a contract in on a house. So Called the listing agent. Contract was due. This was a Friday. Contract was due by Saturday. They're doing again, everything has a deadline. The contract was due by Saturday to get it in because they were presenting them to the seller. Friday goes, doesn't write it up, doesn't get it in. They lose the opportunity for that house. The agent loses the opportunity for that house because he did not work on the contract and get it in. Okay. Fast forward, the buyer still worked with him. I have no idea why. The buyer should have fired him. Buyer still worked with him, went, found another property. Got the contract in, went under contract, but didn't submit necessary things, it fell through. At that point in time, the buyer definitely fired them. So what this agent was doing, and I use that term loosely right now, what this agent was doing is this agent did not have any sense of urgency. They were like, it's fine, we'll get it there, blah, blah, blah. As agents, we have a person's biggest purchase or sale in our hands, and there's deadlines for absolutely everything. Deadlines for inspections, deadlines for getting things like when it gets under contract, what moves forward, deadlines for finances, deadlines for title company. There are deadlines. So it's so important as an agent to not only keep track of the deadlines and have a checklist, right? And I'll show you some resources for that in a little bit, but also to adhere to the deadlines. Now, if we as people are just super busy and it's, we struggle with deadlines, we struggle with urgency, there are absolutely there are people out there called transaction coordinators who will do all that for you. So when it goes under contract, they take it to the closing table for you. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the deadlines, right? So again, you have deadlines pre, and I'm going to give you some best practices here. So when you have a buyer, okay, now we're going to use the word buyer right now because that's where a lot of our deadlines. By the way, when you have listings, yes, there's deadlines, but most of them on the buyer agent side, so they're way easier. That's why we always say listings are leverage because you don't have as much time spent with them. So when you have a buyer and you're showing houses, here is one best practice that is not only going to save you time and energy, but it's going to save you sanity as well. Anybody like to be sane? Not go crazy? Anybody like to not stress as much? No, just me? Everybody else likes to stress? Okay, cool. So when you have a buyer and you're about to show houses, the best thing you can do is go into your contract platform. Most of you use DocuSign. I know that some people use other platforms, wherever your contract platform is. Okay. And you can start that folder, that room. Okay. In DocuSign, they call it a room. And in that room, you can start that up. So if I'm going to show houses to Kim tomorrow night, I'm going to prep for that. So not only am I going to be ready to show the houses and have the MLS printouts ready for Kim, but I'm also going to go into DocuSign, start a room, and put in there all the contracts I think I might need if that's the house she wants. So I'm prepping the room. Okay. If there's a contract, like if you put in like an HOA form and they don't have HOA, you could just delete it out. So you put in all the documents. So now it's prepared, right? You show the properties, and then all of a sudden, Kim comes back and says, yep, I want to put an offer in. So that same day, you're not waiting a day, you're not waiting 2 days, you're not waiting a week. That same day, you pick up the phone, you're calling that listing agent, or you're texting the listing agent, hey, I have a buyer, we're putting an offer in on 123 Cookie Road, anything I need to know? Are there other offers? Now the listing agent is going to tell you what they're going to tell you. Everybody's a little bit different. All right, so let's move it forward. It now goes under contract. Congratulations, gets accepted. Your job just began. You thought your job began, your job just began. So it goes under contract, and now you have to get it to that finish line, right? Get to the settlement table. So now I'm not going to speak logistics as far as title companies, all of that, because every state's a little bit different. But just know that you'll have lenders involved, you'll have title companies involved. So all of them need to be in the know. You have to communicate, you have to communicate with all of them from that date of acceptance. Okay, so I'm messaging the title company, I'm messaging the lender, hey, we just went under contract, because they have to get the ball rolling on things. Now, most likely, now if you submitted the contract, it went accepted and your buyer waived inspection, oh my God, those are our dream ones. We love those. It's very rare, but that's fantastic. Most of them have inspections. So the inspection is a certain time frame, right? You'll see things like 10 days, 12 days. What that time frame means is not only does the inspection need to be done, the inspection company needs to get the report back to you. They usually do within 24 hours. You have to have time to review it on your end before talking to your buyer about it, because you don't want to look at it for the first time with your buyer, because you don't want like that surprise face, right? Or they, oh God, that's bad face, right? So to keep the poker face and to keep things moving, you need to look at it first, review it, then get it to your buyer, review it with your buyer. Your buyer can't review it on their own, review it with your buyer. Your buyer probably is going to have time to ask questions and think, so they need thinking time. Okay, so now we're at another 24 hours. Then let's say they come back and say, okay, we want to ask for A and B to be fixed. All right, so now you have to work up that inspection notice to send back to the listing agent. And all of that, okay, that inspection notice, all of that needs to be done within the time frame of that inspection report says, right? So if you say 10 days on there, as an example, that 10th day is when everything has to be in the hands of the listing agent if anything's being requested. So there was an agent who, still an agent, great agent. We learn from, we learn, we fail forward. I've had plenty of failures forward. That's how we move forward here. So this one agent, okay, newer, she put 5 days for the inspection. So number one, whoo, that is playing with fire there. That's not a lot of days. Then she took an extra day to actually talk to the buyers and schedule things. So we're already down a day now. Then when she got the report back, she just emailed it to the buyer without going over it with the buyer. Big no. Okay. What ended up happening with this particular instance was it passed the inspection period from that form. The buyer wanted to request things. They couldn't because it's past the time. So it moves forward with nothing you can do there. I mean, you can always call the listing agent and, speak person to person, be like, hey, listen, I'm newer, this would happen, is there any way your seller would be willing to, but you're at the hands of the seller right there. And I will tell you, my experience, the majority are like, nope, moving forward. Okay, because they don't have to give in any way, right? They don't have to extend things in any way. It'd be really nice if they do, but they don't have to. So what ended up happening with this agent was there was a few things that came back. The buyer wanted fixed. They passed the inspection period. That was the agent's fault, buyer's agent's fault. So they couldn't ask for anything. The seller was not giving an extension. So it moved forward. They bought this house without being able to ask if those things could be fixed. Now, the buyer's agent ended up giving them, because it was their fault, a buyer concession, different things, but and help them out. But again, there's deadlines. Okay. And then obviously there's deadlines with, if they're using lending, you want to be able to have those conversations. It's not in this timeline, but I would put it in the timeline. Make sure you're communicating with the lender. You don't want to just hear it from the buyer. You have to talk to the lender, right? What's the lender saying? Or do they have all the documents? Does everything look good? Okay. So again, a transaction touches many hands before it's complete. Kind of went through that. All right. So let's talk a little bit about, what are things your buyer needs? What do the buyers need to know? What do they need to know and do? So again, in your timeline for both, again, buyers and sellers. Okay, I'll just kind of skip to the slide here because this kind of outlines it. You have, now here's kind of if you have the student manual for Ignite, there's actually a page that gives you the timeline, gives you an example, right? Now it's an example because every deal is a little bit different. So it can be, it can definitely vary. By the way, when you see LA, that's a listing agent. Okay, so again, buyer timeline, you have inspector list, what I mentioned, earnest money, obviously that needs to be turned in, informing the listing agent of when the inspection is scheduled for, communication, communicate. Think of every little dot here as the word communication. Okay, every little dot is the word communication. I mean, this slide says it all with communication, right? You're communicating deadlines. You're communicating to the other parties, the lender, the buyer. You're communicating with the inspector, the insurance, if there's insurance agents, if that's involved. Sometimes there are, sometimes there aren't. You're making sure, not only that, it's not on the slide, but you're also making sure your buyer has their checklist. The buyer checklist, giving the buyer a checklist is so important because, and the seller, excuse me, giving your client, I'm gonna use the word client, giving your client a checklist is also really important because they're going to have timelines. They're going to have deadlines, right? They're going to have certain deadlines. Now, the lender is going to give them deadlines of when they need to get forms in, but they're also going to have deadlines if they own a house when they're shutting things off. If a buyer is buying a house, when are they setting up their electricity, their water, right? All of those things, their cable, their internet, right? So yes, our job is getting it to the closing table, but our job is also to walk the buyer through what to expect. I will tell you, I don't know who on here uses, let me just stop share for a quick second and see hands and pictures. Who on here uses ChatGPT? Anybody uses AI? Okay, see some hands, see some hands. Okay, I love it. You can actually go into chat and you can say to it, say, as a real estate, tell it to be a real estate agent. Say you're a real estate agent and create a checklist for my buyer, for my buyers, of what they need to do to prepare for their move. It will create the checklist for you. Now, take a look at it, spot check it. Don't just go with like every little thing it says, right? And it will format it. You can tell it to format it in a PDF, a Word document, however you like it formatted, right? So it does all that for you. So now you have this pretty little checklist that's all organized with check boxes and everything that you can give your buyer right when they go under contract. Okay. Now, as far as, I'll add this in here. I know this was talked about in a previous class, but I like to bring it up in this class as well because it's part of getting to the closing table. Does anybody on here know? So, okay, live question. Who on here knows or wants to guess what could cause a deal to fall through? Not get to the closing table.
Lots of stuff.
Anything.
Okay, anything, lots of stuff. Let's name some things. Okay, I see financing. Yep, financing. Absolutely.
Appraiser.
Appraisal. Yep.
Inspections.
Inspections. Yep. What else? Liens on the house. Yep. Oh, that happens.
Cloud on title.
What was
Cloud
that?
on title. Cloud on title. Other
Yes.
than lien, some things on the title report that's not good.
Right, exactly. If it's, yep, cloud title, absolutely. Conditions not fulfilled, absolutely. Right?
Mind change. Yeah.
Hmm.
Change of mind, somebody mentioned, even I was thinking.
Well, so that one you have to be careful with, because just because someone changes their mind, if they're under contract and they're moving forward, now depending on your state, there's different laws, the contract has different ways to get out of it. So always consult with your broker, okay, your local office, because every state's a little bit different. On average, though, most locations, once they're under contract and you get past inspection, if they're just like, yeah, I changed my mind, a lot of times that's called breach of contract and the other party can sue them. Seen that happen as well. The other things that, we mentioned a lot of big things that can happen, right? And those happen all the time, right? Financing, conditions not fulfilled, cloud and title, just all these different things. The others is if they get really excited and buy all new furniture for their new house to be delivered in their new house on credit before they even settle on the new house. Yep, saw that happen. Deal fell through. Because right before settlement, they pull credit, they pull all that stuff. Right, so the deal fell through. There was a buyer who decided, they were like, oh, they were downsizing, they were buying a different house, blah, blah. They bought a new car right before settlement. Deal fell through, lost the house. Right,
Buyer lost their job. Buyer lost their job. They
But
got fired.
yeah, so financing, exactly, right? If there's financing issues, yep, 100%, they won't qualify anymore, right? So as the professionals, as we are, okay, that's what we are, we're the professionals. What we need to do is educate our buyers all along the way. So while we're showing houses, even before showing houses, we sit down and set these expectations. Right? Hey, by the way, during this process, do not go out and make changes to your credit cards, open a new credit card, close a credit card, buy a car, like say all the things. In the buyer presentation packet that's in Designs in Command, there's actually a really great page called Do's and Don'ts. So you can literally just hand them the Do's and Don'ts page, although I would read it to them as well. Okay. And then there's also, so again, you're giving them Do's and Don'ts. You need to remind them when they go under contract. Oh my God, congratulations. I'm so excited, Doug. We're under contract. We're not done yet, though. We're not the finish line. You do not have the keys. So I just want to remind you of a few really important things we went over in the beginning. Cool? He's going to be like, cool. Okay. And I'm literally going to read the do's and don'ts again. Okay. And really hit that home. Right. You'll see things fall apart more because of those little, like, we think it's common sense. Hey, don't buy a car. They don't know. They think that they've got pre-approved, they got approved, they're under contract. They don't think their financing can be affected again. So we have to tell them it's going to be affected again. You will lose the house. Just shoot it straight. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Do not co-sign for your daughter's condo while in the process of buying your own place. Yep. Yeah, don't co-sign for something while trying to get your own thing.
Don't put your 2 weeks in notice in before you close.
Exactly. Actually, so true story. Oh, it's funny. I've never shared this on the Zoom before. So true story. My husband and I were buying a house. This was in 2016. I was representing, of course, myself. I was the buyer agent, but I was also still new. So, you don't know everything, right? You never know everything, by the way, ever. It's just not possible. When you do, everything changes. I was in real estate, but I also had a W-2 within real estate as well. So I was an agent and also an employee, we'll call it that. And the position ended. So my boss came to me, they closed down the position I was in, the W-2 position. And I looked at him and said, I just, like, we're settling in 3 weeks. So I'm like, just keep me on the books, keep me employed for 4 weeks. Like, just keep me here. Just keep this position open until this time frame. and then we're good. He did, thank goodness. We got the house and all good. But yeah, that could have gone south real fast. I would not be sitting in my kitchen that I am right now. No, this is not my background. Everybody's in my kitchen right now. Welcome. It smells like tacos. That's what I have for dinner. All right. So again, lots of do's and don'ts. So the biggest thing with your documentation points is, again, I don't think I can say the word communication more. You're going to have, now here's the thing with documentation, you want to make sure any changes that occur, any updates, any requests that get approved, anything, it has to be documented. It has to be in writing and everybody initials it. Another thing that could cause it to not get to the finish line is a missing signature. Now, we all have different compliance checks and our brokers and people look at it, but a missing signature can definitely cause something to not get to the finish line. Ooh. All right, the seller. So seller transaction, who's all involved, right? Now you're not, as the listing agent, you're not working with the inspector. You're not working with the appraiser, right? Those are all the buyer agent. However, are there, actually, I'm going to open this up for conversation again. Who do we work with? So we're the listing agents. What does that process look like? What do we do as listing agents? What do you guys think?
Well, it depends on the state. You may be the one, and I know this because I'm licensed both in New Mexico and in Louisiana. In New Mexico, the seller is who opens escrow. They're the ones that are typically the ones that send the purchase agreement to the title company.
Mm-hmm.
And in Louisiana, it's the buyer's agent that typically does. I say typically because everything is negotiable, and
Mm-hmm.
and it could be you still change, even though the seller's supposed to. You might be the buyer agent, and you send it just because it doesn't matter. That's where it's going. You can send it too, but typically, the seller is the one that sends the contract to the title company.
So yeah, so definitely check with your broker, check with your state. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Every state's a little bit different, right? We all work a little bit differently. But at the end of the day, let me pull this back up here. At the end of the day, we go into our multiple listing service, and as the listing agent, we are responsible for marking it as pending or under contract. We're going to be informed, right, by the buyer of the inspection. So we need to inform our sellers, right? So our job really as listing agents is the ultimate communicator, right? So we're communicating with MLS, telling it what status it's in. We are talking to our sellers, keeping them updated. We are now looking at if the buyer agent does send or talk to us about an inspection report. Again, we're sitting and talking to our sellers about that to see if they're willing to do anything or not, right? Then we're communicating back to the buyer agent with that. That's again another negotiation point potentially, right? Typically the lender schedules appraisals. However, there's multiple times and in different states. Sometimes the seller does it in certain areas, right? Again, it's very rare, but that does happen. It does occur in certain states. And then, yes, we hope the appraisal comes back, all is good. We just move forward. That makes it easier. If it comes back and the buyer agent is notifying us and the lender is notifying us that, hey, it came back lower, like appraised lower. Now we have to communicate with our sellers. Hey, it came back lower. So here's your options. Here's what we can do, right? Trying to move everything forward to help everybody. Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, I'm going to share this because it's, I don't know. not pet peeve isn't the word I'm looking for. I'll say it's interesting. Who in here wants to get the settlement table? Who wants to go to a closing and have closings? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. You want to go to closing? Okay. So
Everyone.
if, Stephanie on here is working with the buyer, you're the buyer agent, congratulations. And Melissa on here is working with the seller. She's the listing agent. Do you both want to go to the settlement table? Do you both want to help your clients sell their house to be able to move to another state to be closer to relatives? And Stephanie buy that house because it has that extra bedroom for their twins that they're about to have. Okay, so you're both looking to help people who have a reason they're looking to buy or sell. What's really interesting, the more you're in real estate, the more you're working with agents, is sometimes it feels and can feel, I'm not saying it is this way, but sometimes it can feel as if we're against each other, right? That we're the buyer agent might think, oh God, they're not even working with us on anything. The seller agent, beep, beep, beep. Okay. It's my words when we record, by the way. When we don't record, whole nother language. The listing agent might be saying, oh my God, this buyer agent is off their rocker. If they think my seller is going to do all these fixings, what are they thinking about? They probably just want to back out of the deal. So these are thoughts that go through buyer agents and seller agents' minds. Now, perception is reality. So are they real thoughts? Yes, because they're going through your mind. Are they actually real though? No. Both parties want to help their clients and both parties want to get to the settlement table. As agents, we need to remember that. We need to remember that the relationship with that other agent is so crucial. Not only for this transaction, and here's the thing, if something's going to happen, something's going to happen, but not only to work together to help each other move it forward, but also you burn a bridge with an agent. Who do agents talk? Agents talk like a lot. And then there's social media, which don't be that agent out there, right? But it's sad, right? So we burn the bridge with one agent, they tell another agent, next thing you know, I'm reading this book and I just bought it home. I'm going to give you all a book reference right now because I literally just started it last night and really good so far. It just came out, it's brand new. And it is called, here it is, Wealthy and Well Known by Rory Vaden. And again, I'm only a chapter in, but basically the premise of the book is talking about your personal brand. Your personal brand is not a website. Your personal brand is not colors. Your personal brand is not a logo. Your personal brand is your reputation. How do people know you? How do people think about you? How do people talk about you? Right? So think about as you're going through, right? Taking that thought and putting into getting to the closing table, there's a lot of emotions that come about when you go under contract to get to closing. A lot of things can happen and there's a lot of emotions that can pop up then, right? On both parties. So always just think about how do you want to show up? And I'll put the book in here. The author is Rory Vaden, and the book is called Wealthy and Well Known. Rory Vaden's one of the top branding specialists in the nation. So yes, I'm only a chapter in, but I recommend it for right now. I don't typically recommend books. I think that was the first time I recommended a book on a Zoom. All right, so let's get back to the timeline. So again, we move forward with it as a listing agent, and then At the very end, we have obviously the listing agent, buyer agent are both reviewing the closing statements, making sure everything is correct and accurate before the settlement. And then obviously you go to the settlement, you're at sitting at closing, and that's when you get to sit there and smile while your client is just signing and signing. You're just sitting there smiling. And afterwards, that's your social media moment, taking pictures, taking videos, and with their permission posting, because you made it. I'm not going to get into command. You're going to talk about that more tomorrow night. Just know that opportunities, it actually allows you to build a checklist. So you can actually take a checklist of what you need for your deadlines for buyers and what you need for your deadlines for sellers, and actually put it right into your opportunity. So every time you have a buyer, every time you have a seller, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's already a checklist in there for you. Tomorrow night, they'll walk you through more of that. So sum that up, set expectations up front, talk about them throughout, revisit them throughout, and maintain professionalism throughout. So let's move into referrals and reviews. All right, repeat business, referrals. The best thing you could ever get as an agent, right? The more you focus on that customer experience, the bigger your business is going to be, right? If you, in that first year in real estate, or I'll say your first 3 years, in that first 3 years of real estate, you're putting in the grind, you're putting in the hustle, right? You're hunting for the buyers, hunting for the sellers, you're putting in the activities. In that time frame, again, the more you are asking for referrals, the more you are asking for reviews, building your online presence with that, the more you're going to get repeat business. One of our agents at one of our offices actually had one client that ended in 11 different transactions over a 7-year period. 11 pieces of business over a seven-year period. They bought and sold with the agent. Fast forward, their son ended up using them. Fast forward, their daughter ended up using them. They had a friend who ended up using them. Then the first couple who bought and sold with them ended up buying and selling again. So they used them again. I don't know what number of transaction we're on, but you get the drift here, right? And it's because, number one, they're staying in touch. Number two, this agent did an outstanding business or outstanding service for them. When do you ask? When do you ask? Right? Basically, all the time. Don't be afraid to ask. Some of the greatest times to ask, I'll show this. Some of the greatest times to ask is, okay, let me ask this. When are your clients the most excited? When are they, minus settlement time, when are they the most excited in your transaction?
Right at contract, right as you got under contract.
Right when you get under contract. Now, what about when you're
Pre-approval.
okay, love that. We're going backward. Pre-approval, right? So they're excited because they just got pre-approved. They can actually start seeing houses, right? Now they're seeing houses. You put in a contract, or 2 or 3 or 4, and then finally one goes under contract. So they are super excited, right? Then you get to the finish line, it settles. You're sitting at the settlement table and they just got handed the keys, or they're passing off the keys. Keys are getting delivered somewhere. And they are sitting there just ecstatic, right? Because their dream of whatever that next phase is of their life, you helped happen. So asking in all of those stages, okay, is crucial, right? So what could that sound like? Does anybody want to give an example? Like, how could you ask? They just went under contract. How could that sound? Does anybody want to give an example? What would you say?
If you feel what I did was helpful, I would definitely like you to connect me to your friends and families whom I can help as well.
So you said, if you feel what I did is helpful. I'm going to change one word. Am I okay with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Get rid of the word if. So, okay, my background, I have a background in psychology. So the word if causes doubt in someone's mind. So
Mm.
maybe switch that up to say, so let me, is it Ankush? How do you pronounce your name?
Ankush or
Ankush?
Ankush, both.
Ankush? So
Mhm.
Ankush, let me ask you, we're under contract now. How excited are you? You excited?
Yeah.
He's gonna be like, oh my God, yeah, I'm so excited. No, all right, we're not there yet. We're not at settlement. We have a lot to do. And I have a lot to do, not you. Don't worry. And how is this experience so far for you? So ask that question. How is this experience so far for you? Now that we got to this point.
Terrific.
Awesome. Listen, so this is where we need to educate people. We're educators. That's what we are. We're educators. Listen, my business is built on working with people such as yourself and from referrals.
Yeah.
Right? Just like you refer out like a restaurant to someone, you refer out a real estate agent. Is there anyone you can think of that you might know who might benefit from my services as well? Right. So that's how you ask. Right. So you ask them a question. How are you feeling right now? You ask them, how's my service so far? Number one, that also helps you get feedback. There's nothing wrong with someone coming back to you and saying, well, you know, I don't really know. It's okay. It's fine. They just went under contract. They're not going to say it's fine. They're going to be at a high. Okay. But even if they did and they came back with some feedback, that's awesome. That's how we grow. Feedback is the only way we can grow. Right? We learn and we grow. Right? And then you simply ask. And then you do the exact same thing at settlement. So speaking of settlement, do we think it's done? At settlement, are we done as agents?
No.
No, we are not done. So there's two different types of agents out there in the world. There's what's called a transactional agent, and there's a relationship. Oh my God, I can't pronounce the word. I'll use the word relationship. A relationship agent. Okay. So a transactional agent is someone who's just, all right, awesome. William, you want to buy a house? Here's your house. We're under contract. Here's the keys. Good luck. Have a nice life. You're transactional. I got my check. You got your house. We're good to go. Okay. A relationship agent, there's the ones who succeed more. A relationship agent are the ones who, number one, focus on the person as a whole, get to know them. You're like making a friend, right? And you're not done when they get the keys or they hand over the keys, right? You're putting them in your system. You're following up with them. You're keeping in touch. I'm going to give you it's not in here, but I'm going to give you a best practice of an agent I heard in Texas who did this a few years ago. I learned this from an agent and who usually has about 50, 60 closings a year. And I thought this was brilliant. So I'm going to share this with you in just a minute. And you're also following up with, now here's the thing, at the settlement table, whose information do you want to make sure is in command that you're following up with? What do you guys think?
Your
Client?
clients and the other client if possible.
Yes, exactly. Your client. Well, your client's already in your command because you had to put them there for opportunities and all of that, right? So now you just need to make sure you have a client follow-up plan. But then the other client, because at the settlement table, all clients, when all paperwork is done and said and done, are now what we call orphans. They are unrepresented people. So if you just helped a buyer buy a house and the other agent just helped the seller sell a house, well, that seller now lives somewhere else, but you have all their information. At some point in time, that seller either one knows somebody who needs to buy or sell, so they need an agent, or that seller who now bought another house, probably in 3 to 5 years is going to want to sell and buy another house, or maybe buy an investment property. And on average, a very, very, very small percent of agents actually follow up. So most people don't remember who their agent is within a year of working with them. Sad but true, right? So it's the agent who follows up with all parties that build that bigger business and have more relationships they're building, right? So I'm going to share the story about that agent in Texas. Then we're going to switch gears a little bit. So this agent in Texas did something brilliant. So he was working with a buyer, and he was probably about 3 years in the business, 4 years in the business. And he was working with a buyer, helped the buyer buy this house, and it was rocky, right? He didn't think it would go through. So it finally went through, it settled. The buyer was so grateful. The agent was so relieved it went through. Like everybody was just ecstatic. What the agent ended up doing as their settlement present, instead of one of those baskets with like wine and stuff that they just drink and eat and throw out and they don't remember you in any way, and it's also you can only write off a certain amount, right? What that agent ended up doing is the agent offered as their housewarming present to organize and throw their housewarming party for them. So as their closing present, instead of here's wine, have fun, drink it, goodbye, they organized and hosted their housewarming party for when they were ready. So what do you think that agent had to get from this person to be able to organize that?
List of
Contacts.
list of
Name of-
Contacts. Yeah,
Name
let's
of
be
their
real, right? So
friends.
they just got all their friends and family that they want to invite. Then they're at the party. They provided well, they partnered with the lender to help offset the cost. So the lender was there too. They provided the snacks, the munchies, the drinks, beverages of choice, right? And they attended the party. So what do you think the buyer was doing throughout the party?
Networking.
Introducing.
Introducing the agent.
Yes, this
Exactly.
owner of this new house who just bought this new house and this agent, they were oh my God, have you met William? He was my agent. Da, da. So not only did this agent get all the contact information to put in command, send them one of those pretty little evites, right, for the housewarming party, partner with a lender to get all the things for the housewarming party, attend the housewarming party, now meet everybody. This agent ended up getting 4 new clients within like 2 weeks just off of that alone. Not to mention just fun, right? So just a food for thought, right? Things don't end right when they get to the closing table. And think about when you do close, what's the experience you want to provide? What do you want that to be, right? And again, you will change this over the years you get into it. Yeah, exactly. Very smart. When he told me that, I was like, I've never heard of that. That's brilliant. I'm now telling everybody. So I can't take credit. This guy I coached in Texas started it, and I was like, that is the smartest business idea ever. Yes. Okay. So what you get is if we switch gears and I pull up some different slides here, what did you get from, well, what questions do you have? And what did you take from, again, getting to the closing table?
Pay attention to deadlines. Make sure you stay on target.
Yes. So pay attention to deadlines. Make sure you stay on target. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I put down from the very beginning, do not stress with the client. Because a lot of times, and even when it comes to like doing the referrals and sharing, like, hey, it's a time period where they're very stressed.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really trying to hear the referral. They're just trying to get through the process, honestly. So, having somebody that is cool, calm, and collect kind of gives them a little reassurance that everything is going to be okay.
Yeah. And I love what you just said there, cool, calm, and collect. Right. There's an agent I worked with for a few years. I was her coach, and she cool, calm, and collect was the opposite of what she is. I'll just say it that way. Just by nature, just naturally very facial expressions, emotions, just anxious. It's a good word, probably, right? And it caused a lot of issues. Her first year working with clients, it caused a lot of issues. I remember having to get on the phone with a lot of her buyers and sellers and smooth things over and all of that to help her out, get things to the closing table. Because people they were feeling her opposite of cool, calm, collected emotions, causing them to now take it to the extreme. And then it just will blow up from there, right? So really just remember, and this is throughout the whole process, right? When we're showing properties, we're not the ones buying the property. So if you walk into our property and you're like, yeah, don't do that. Okay. Because this person might walk in there and have this whole interior design mindset and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Right? They might be walking in like, I can knock this wall down. I can paint that bright pink wall. They might have the eye for it, where we might walk in going, yes, let's just go to the next house. So be very careful. It's not your money. It's not your house. So when you're showing cool, calm, and Stephanie, I'm just totally taking that now. When you're showing houses, be cool, calm, and collected. Poker face, right? Let them know like the potential it could be, right? Trust me, if they don't like it, they don't like it. You're going to go on to the next one, right? When you get under contract and you're moving forward, even when you're reminding them of the expectations, reminding them of things that can fall through and things that can happen and the do's and don'ts, just practice it. Keep it very like, hey, these are some things not to do. Just keep it very professional, but also just matter of fact, right? Don't do these things because this could happen, right? So, even in the beginning, saying the expectation, hey, when we go under contract, when we do find the property, I'm assuming you're going to want an inspection. They're going to say yes. And then when you go under contract, hey, for the inspection, the inspector's job is to find like 30, 45 things wrong, even if it's a new build. Like even if it's a brand new house, their job is to give you pages, like a booklet of stuff. It might be something as like the screw is loose in the light fixture, like just silly things, right? Just letting them know, listen, the inspector's job is not to scare you, not to do this. It's literally going to be providing you with a booklet. Don't worry, we're going to go through it together, right? We're just looking for critical things, safety hazards, things like that, right? So you're cool, calm, and collected. I got a new catchphrase. Thank you, Stephanie. I'm going to use that at work and they'll be like, you're using that too much. Blame Stephanie on Ignite. If something pops up, and it will, you're going to have a deal. Woo, there's going to be something that pops up, something financial, something with, recently we had one of our agents in our office, was 2 days away from settlement. No, sorry, 1 day away from settlement. They were doing the final walkthrough and the owner of the home broke something in the house. Right. So houses have to be delivered as they were portrayed when it went under contract, or it's a breach of contract. So there was something broken. So again, the buyers were walking through this house thinking they're going to settle on it the very next day and get this this whole, not brand new, but brand new to them house. But there was something broken that was not an overnight fix. Right. So the buyer's freaking out. The agent, what's the agent, everybody? We're all going to say it now. Cool, calm, and collected, right? You're all going to be saying it, right? So the agent was like, okay, it's going to be okay. No worries. Let me call the listing agent. This is my job. Okay. That's fine. It's good. Let me call the listing agent. We'll get this all sorted out. We have to kind of bring it's from a movie, the USA. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that movie, like USA. I'm going way back in my day with movies right now, but I think that movie was Bad Boys. All right. Let's move on to the final thing for the evening. And by the way, if there's any questions, please ask. No questions at all? Nothing? Okay. If there are any, please ask. Oops. And I am just bringing up the next one here. All right. Get to the first slide. So here's the thing. Tomorrow night is your final night of command, putting command all together, getting the technology down to where you are a technology enhanced agent. Okay. The more you leverage command, the more it can work as like an assistant for you, right? And it can work while you sleep. Where I want to kind of take all of you right now is I want to take all of you on a little mindset journey. Is that cool? We're going to end tonight with a little mindset journey. So we're going to go back to kind of like almost like a recap a little bit, just a tiny recap, like a 20, 30-minute recap. Our jobs as agents, lead generation, meaning connecting with people. So I'm going to replace these words. Okay. So just think, our job as agents, connecting with people, following up with people, to build relationships, to have closings, right? To help them, and we have closings. So it's a win-win all throughout. Now, if you remember first night of Ignite, we talked a little bit about mindset. So you're all 5 weeks in now, and probably way more than 5 weeks into real estate, right? Some of you maybe 6 weeks into real estate, some of you maybe 2 years into real estate. Real estate is the one
Hello, sir.
job out there that is, or it's not even a job. Real estate is the one lifestyle. I'm going to call it that lifestyle, where everything we do is 100% mindset. We make choices. We choose if we're going to connect with people or not that day, meaning lead generation. We choose if we're going to attend trainings and learn and implement it, right? We choose if we're going to meet deadlines or be lazy and miss deadlines and get fired by our clients. We make these choices. So your mindset really, really matters, right? And then to help with mindset, it's really important to continually revisit who you truly are, your value, the experience you want to bring to your clients, right? What do you want them to say about you? Right? If they're screaming out the window to their neighbors, what are they screaming about you? Right? What are they saying? And revisit now this says big life, big why, all of that. I have to sneeze for a minute. It's here, it's like hanging out. Revisiting your why. Why did you get into real estate? Right? What got you into real estate? What's keeping you in real estate? On those, rainy days, mucky days, hot days, cold days, snowy days, whatever the days are, right? What is driving you? Right? Now that's a personal thing. It can't simply be, I want to help people. That's great. Dig deeper. What does that mean? What is that going to do for you? Right? And then create a visual around it. If you do not have a visual around what's driving you, what your why is, absolutely create a visual. Because yes, in the beginning, can real estate be, it's not easy, but is it exciting in the beginning? Yes. Does it continually be that way? Absolutely. Will you come across barriers, roadblocks? I call them walls, right? That we hit in our career in real estate. We're like, oh my God. One of our agents, 3 years in, great agent. She came to me and she had 4 of her friends and family she was helping with, and all 4 deals fell apart. Same month. All 4 were settling, all 4 fell apart. Nothing settled. So she came to me one day, she goes, oh my God, I think I'm going to quit real estate. At some point, every single agent says that multiple times. Usually every agent says it about once a year. It's very common. You're all say it about at least once. Very, very common. And I was like, okay, well, let's go get some coffee. So we went out and got some coffee, and I'm like, all right, well, let's talk through this, right? And it wasn't that she didn't love real estate. She loves real estate. It was just that she was exhausted from what she just went through with her friends and family. So I'm like, all right, take a few days just for you. Like, take some me days. Okay, staycation, whatever that looks like. And then let's come back together. She did that. She's like, nope, I'm good. I'm good. I'm back in. I'm fully back in. I'm energized now. And then she got like 5 more deals the very next month. Right. So what kept her going was revisiting what she loves about it and why she got in the first place. But we just talked about the why. Track your money. Right? Know where your commission dollars are going and start thinking like a business owner. As a business owner, the money it's about, okay, it's very easy to say, here's how much money I want to make. So if you're like, I'm just going to make up an amount right now, $100,000. Cool. Depending on the price of house, will obviously depend on how many houses you have to sell. So I'm just going to use an average based on my area in Maryland. So in Maryland, well, actually it varies because if you're in this area of Maryland, it's like 2 houses a month. If you're in this area, it's 1 house a month. So I'm going to use the 1 house. So this agent in this location in Maryland needs to sell 1 house a month to make $100,000, to net $100,000. So after splits and all that, okay? That means they have to set, as a newer agent, 4 appointments every month, because out of 4, 2 might sign with them. Out of 2, 1's probably going to close. Not everything closes. To set an appointment every week, to get an appointment for 4 appointments a month, that's 1 a week. To get 1 appointment a week, you need 10 contacts a day or 15 a week. These are national numbers, not just made up numbers. So if you're like, oh my God, I'm not getting any appointments, how many people did you talk to this week? If it was 8, you'll have an appointment in about 6 months from now. Sorry, I speak the truth. I'm just a very honest person. If you're talking to 60, 70 people and still not getting anything, okay, then I would reach out to somebody at your market center, like a coach, a trainer, somebody to be like, okay, can we role play? Can you help me? You probably just need a tiny little tweaking on your closing tactics. That's all. Probably a little thing to change up to get that appointment, right? But then it's okay, you just had a settlement, you just made this money. Obviously, a portion has to go to taxes, right? You should invest like a portion back in your business. I always say 10% is a nice number. And then do what you want to do with the rest. And again, money is good for the good it can do. One of my favorite quotes, it's not in here, is the purpose of business is to fund the perfect life. Right? Now, perfect life means something different for all of us. Right? So the purpose of what we do, the purpose of business is to fund that perfect life. Right? So again, your money flow. You have income going in, you have expenses, you got profit. What is your profit goal? So then how much income do you need to hit that profit goal? Right? Because if you get a commission check for $10,000, you are not walking away with $10,000. Even if you're what's called capped at Keller Williams, meaning you're keeping 100% of your commission, you're still not walking away with $10,000 because you have some expenses. Meaning, did you spend money on marketing? Did you spend money on whatever you spent money on? You also have taxes. I recommend separate accounts, one specifically for real estate. Bank accounts, that is. You already went through this in the early on. I'm not going to read this to you. It's in your packet. Just know that some of your expenses, again, cost of sale versus operating expenses. I will say this because we're mid-year through, and it's always a good thing to keep in mind for the next year. Having a real estate friendly accountant, meaning an accountant who specifically works with real estate agents, not just any accountant, but talking to an accountant who actually, who not solely, but the bulk of their clients are real estate agents, And just having a sit down with them, usually most accountants will sit down with you for free and just give you some guidance. Because there's so many things that we as agents can offset. I'll use that word as an agent that we don't even think about that that accountant can give you a whole list on. So again, gain clarity on like, what's your plan? What do you want your future to look like? Now, for some people, when you say the word future, they can think 3, 5 years in advance. I have a friend who thinks 10 years in advance. Others are like, okay, I can't even think past December. And that's cool. Future is whatever the word is that, however that word means to you, right? I have a friend who's like, I can't even think, someone's like, I have a friend of mine who's in an interview process right now for a job, and they asked her a question. They're like, okay, where do you see yourself? Like, what do you want to be doing in the next 3 to 5 years? Her brain doesn't work that way. Her brain doesn't work in 3 to 5 years. Her brain works in smaller chunks of time. So she had to really expand her thinking to figure out that one, right? Set your personal budgets. Don't just go spending on shiny objects. If you're not making money, try not to spend money. Lead with revenue at all times. Okay. If you're in Command, at the top you click Connect, and you go in the search bar and you type in MREA chart of accounts, or it might be called just MREA economics. There's a really cool Excel spreadsheet that basically lists out a whole lot of different expenses you might have as an agent. There's some really cools in that command. They're kind of hard to find sometimes. You kind of have to go through the search bar and click around, but they're in there. All right. So I'm going to share this final slide with you. Hold on, give me 1 minute here. There it is. Your daily success system, right? 10 conversations per day, 5 days a week, so 50 in a week. Now, if you go to a big networking event on the weekend, you get all 50 done in one day, cool. Do that. Okay, we're just giving an average. Over a 7-day period, 10 a day, 5 days a week equals 50. By the way, that's bare minimum. That's for one appointment. If you're making more, that's bare minimum. Now, sometimes we have to build up to that. We're like, whoo, that's a lot, right? So how can you build up to that? Now, by the way, you can contacts can be done through social media, not commenting, but DMing, right? There's actually, I'm going to put his handle in the chat box. Let me look it up. There's an agent I recommend following on Instagram. So he's in Maryland. He started real estate 3 years ago at the age of 19. He became Rookie of the Year his first year. And then he did over, what was the amount? It was a few million in volume his 3rd year. Like he just took a trip to Dubai and bought himself this. But trust me, when you see his Instagram post, you'll be like, oh, okay, I get it now. Close to 90% of his business all comes from social media. He's going to be hosting a class. I have him teaching a class on exactly how he does it in September. So all of you are going to get an invite to that, by the way. Everybody who's attended and registered for Ignite is going to get an invite to. He taught this class specifically for our location in Maryland a few weeks ago, and it was mind-blowing. It was an hour and a half long, and I learned more in that class than any other class I think I've taken. Okay. I'm now doing things on social media because of it. Like more than I ever did. And it was such a hit that I called him afterwards and I'm like, hey, would you repeat this virtually? Like do it on Zoom so we can invite agents around the nation to it. And he's like, absolutely. He loves teaching it. So he is, and here is his information. Putting it in here now. I just had to figure out his spelling. There you go. So that's just one example to follow. Again, he received close to 90% of his business directly from social media. So if you're like, how do I even begin? What do I do? Just check them out and copy it, right? Stalk real estate agents. If you're using social media, go and stalk real estate agents. Well, the ones with followers. The person who has like 10 followers on social media, that I probably wouldn't copy them. I would copy people like he has 31,000 followers on Instagram. YouTube, he has, I think, oh my God, I don't even remember the number, but it was some crazy number, right? Actually, I'm going to put one other name in here for you to follow. There we go. The other name I just put in there, his name is Ken Pozak. Ken Pozak built a $100 million, yeah, you heard me, $100 million real estate business through social media. And his original, if you can find them, you can kind of scroll YouTube and kind of find his original stuff when he first started out. There's nothing fancy. It is literally him, a phone, walking through a neighborhood. That's it. He's just like talking about the neighborhood, right? He's gotten kind of fun with it lately. But he's another great one to follow who's built a humongous business through social media. Right. So there is no reason why every single person on this Zoom tonight couldn't do the same. They all started the same way. Armar started literally 3 years ago. 19, never sold a house, never bought a house, knew nothing about real estate. And when you watch his videos, you'll be like, oh, yep, he grew a business. You know, obviously still learning, still growing always. All right. And I'm just starting up. I know social media, but I tried to stay off of it for a while. Posting myself, I usually post other people, but my coach, so I'm a coach and I also have a coach because, you know, if you're going to do it and preach it, you need to have one. My coach challenged me to a 30-day challenge. So I'm going to throw mine in here just because I would love the follows. I am not the Omar. I'm not the Ken yet. But I'm doing a lot of ChatGPT prompts. That's my 30-day challenge, by the way. What's your prompt of the day? And if you're not using ChatGPT or Gemini or any of these AI platforms, you are missing out on the easy button. All right. Who's motivated? Who's ready to lead gen and get some buyers and sellers? So I don't know if Monica was doing that based on what I just said or something else, but she was like, yes, that was fantastic. Okay, I love it. All right, we're gonna do something right now. We are going to take a picture. Oh my God, look at you, William, got a cash buyer tonight. Oh, let's all do a reaction for William. Hold on, I'm gonna do a reaction.
Yay!
Woo! Reaction about William, that's awesome, right? That's what it's all about, love that. What I wanna do is I wanna actually do a screenshot of all of us being excited, or doing a reaction. And then I'm going to put the screenshot in the chat box for all of you to grab. Okay. And then you can use that to post to social. Don't overthink it. And if you don't know what to say, go to ChatGPT and be like, I'm posting an image about a class I just took. Caption this. All right, so we're gonna do come off of the camera or come on camera if you can. We're gonna do a picture. I have 2 screens, so I'm gonna do one screenshot. I'm gonna do another screenshot. Right now, what I want you to do is either reaction, do some sort of pose, smile, whatever you want to do, because we're taking a picture. So everybody get your smiles on as I get my computer screen going here. All right, you guys ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, I'm gonna do one more. Hold on. All right, is everybody ready? Okay, I love that. I love when it was like this, got the little poses here. Monica, you need to put like your fist up in the air again. Like, all right, ready. 1, 2, 3. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. All right. Let me throw that in the chat here.
I found that those crazy poses, when you put them on Facebook, they get more attention than a regular one.
Oh my God. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, it's really, so you know, it's really funny. I was doing these, friend of mine taught me this app called Captions. So I use CapCut for videos, but now I learned this new app called Captions, which if you don't know it, it's mind blowing. Like I've been a little obsessed. And so it takes your AI takes your video and makes it all snazzy looking. Okay. I just Asian with that word. Yes. And the other day I forgot to do a video. It was very last minute. I was running out the door from work or from the office. And I just literally threw my camera up and I just did a video while I share an office in my one market center with 2 other people. Well, I didn't realize as I was doing it, the person behind me was like
Perfect.
this. So it got so many more comments and thumbs up and all that. It was like nothing fancy whatsoever. So today I purposefully did a non-fancy one. So if you go to my Instagram, you'll see it. And this one I did actually plan this one. I have another our broker our broker of one of our offices shares the spot with me. And so while I was talking, now I didn't know what he was going to do. So that kind of threw me for a loop. But while I was talking, he literally threw his chair like across the room, like went sliding across the room. So just the most random thing in the video. I was like, okay, posting this. So yeah, have fun with it. Do not think it has to be professional. Do not think it needs to be, you need all these gadgets and this and that. Literally, here you go. There's your gadgets, the phone right there. Turn it on. Click it. Just start. All right. Does anybody have any last minute questions, anything they need before we end for this evening? No. Again, thank you all so much for being patient at the beginning. I apologize for the little delay. We'll call it that word, the delay and everything.
It happens.
It does, right? It definitely does, right? And trust me, real estate, it's all about the delays. All right. Well, everybody have a great night. And don't forget tomorrow night, last night of Ignite, please show up. Amazing instructor, Sarah Hall, is bringing the power for technology. All right, everybody.
Thank you.
Great night.
Thanks, Alana. Have a good night.
Bye.